All right. So there's one thing that men and women can agree on, I would say that most men will admit to there being quite a few things about women that they do not understand, as women will also admit there are things about men that they don't understand. I think a top tier of things that men do not understand about women is makeup. So I've heard this a lot. A lot of guys will say to me, particularly because I love like a full glam makeup look. A lot of guys are gonna say that they like a more natural look. They like when girls wear natural colored lipstick versus red lipstick. They don't like a lot of highlighter or whatever it is. Guys like a more natural look, the whole take her swimming on the first date kind of thing. So, I'm here to show you women how to catfish men into thinking that you are not wearing makeup when you are. Makeup for me personally is kind of like a security blanket. I do not like to leave the house without wearing makeup. It's not anything that's like psychologically wrong with me. I just personally love makeup and it is cathartic for me to do my makeup every day. So, when I'm doing something casual, like going to a movie or just going out like for a few drinks on like a Wednesday night with some of my friends, and I don't feel it necessary to do like a full glam makeup look, I'll do something subtle like this. And then I always get compliments on how good I look without makeup. And I'm like, joke's on you because I spent 20 minutes doing this particular makeup look to make you think I'm not wearing makeup. So if you guys are interested in how I do that, just keep watching. Thanks so much. Alright, so the first thing I am going to do is prime my face. That's what I start my makeup routine with every single day. Right now, I have been using two different primers. So the first one I've been using is the No Pore Blem primer by Touch in Soul. And then I've also been using the same brand, No Pore Blem Prime Essence. So I know they sound like they're the same, but they're not. This one's a little bit more of like a silicone finish, and this one is more of like a hydrating finish. So I'll use the more silicone finish in like my T-zone where you're gonna get oily, and that's gonna help prevent oil throughout the day, especially in the summertime. So I just use a tiny bit of that just in the T-zone area to prevent excess oil from soaking up, and then I'll go ahead and do the more hydrating one in the rest of my face, just like my cheeks and down my neck a little bit. So that's that. And then I'm going to take my damp beauty sponge and apply the Too Faced Born This Way foundation. I have been obsessed with this for a very long time now. It's probably, in my opinion, it's the best high-end foundation that you're gonna get for the price point it's at. I believe it's $36. I personally love the Dior Forever foundation, but that's like a $50 foundation, and I just don't think that it's worth spending $50 every time you're gonna buy that foundation. This one is also what I think is a good summer foundation because it has a matte finish. It's gonna not make you look like sweaty or oily throughout the day. So I'm just gonna apply that all over my face real quick, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so my foundation set, you're really going to want to set your foundation every day regardless of if you're doing like a full glam look or a casual look, just because setting that foundation is going to make your skin feel like skin. It's not going to feel like there's sticky makeup on it. It's not going to make it feel heavy. If I touch my face, there should not be residue on my fingers because of that setting powder locking the makeup into your skin. So then after that, just because I'm over the top, I'm going to use another like finishing powder, but this one has like a tint to it. It's not like a translucent powder, which I just set my face with. This is just from e.l.f. It was super cheap. The setting powder I used was the Hourglass finishing powder. Not super cheap. I think that's a $50 powder. So definitely not necessary. It was just one of those things that there was a lot of hype about at the time, and I really wanted to try it. I'm not going to say I don't love it because I do, but do I think it's worth spending $50 for a setting powder? Absolutely not. Makeup Revolution has some really good affordable setting powders that you can buy at Ulta, and I think they're like $7 or $9. I know it's an odd number. But I just like to try out products and tell you guys how I like them. So that's why sometimes I will splurge for a little bit spendier products. So that's like, I always just like kind of touch my face to see if it feels like there's any like stickiness or like moisture kind of from that foundation. And like now there's not, because I used those two powders to just kind of like lock it all in. So now I'm going to bronze. If I can find my, oh here, this one's right here. I'm going to use the Marc Jacobs Omega Bronzer. I've been using this for a very long time. I have hit pan on it, but I've had it for over a year. This is another expensive product, but this is one that I do think is relatively worth the price point because a lot of bronzers, especially high-end bronzers, you're gonna get this tiny little pan. The Hoola bronzer is a great bronzer. It smells good, it's beautiful, it applies so nicely, but it is tiny. It is this big, and I think that's $36 and this is $50. So why not spend like $14 more and have double the product? I really think that this is a good bronzer to use. Yes, it's a lot of money at one time, but you don't have to spend it again for a while, which is always a plus. A lot of people have been saying the new Morphe bronzer, I think it's Icon is what it's called, is the like kind of like blanket one that like a lot of people can use, like this one, is a really good dupe for this, and I know that one's a lot cheaper. I'm not exactly sure how much it costs, but I can double check for you guys, but it is always sold out. Every time I look to see if I can buy it, it's sold out. Anyway, so I'm just bronzing up my face. I'm doing around my hairline, and then I'll bring it in towards my eyebrows on both sides, and then just right on the cheekbone area. I'm not being very super particular with this because I am going to use another setting powder to kind of carve it out. So cheeks, and then you can see this is a pretty large fluffy brush. This is a Morphe R2, so it's pretty large and it's going to cover a lot of area at once, whereas like a contouring brush, you're going to want something a little bit smaller and more precise. So then I bring it down around the jawline, and I'll also bring it down like the sides of like my jugular, just to kind of, you know, hide the double chin from eating a lot of food, but also that just feels really good. So then something I do almost every single day is just like run a small brush like this. Let's see if you guys can see this. Down both sides of my nose, not necessarily like contouring it, but just kind of like warming it up, so it's not like you have all these like warm tones and bronze on your face and then your nose is still like a white or like a natural skin color. So I'm just gonna do that really quick, and I start at my eyebrow and just bring it right down both sides of my nose. So you can see the kind of like the line I just drew there. I'm obviously not going to leave it that defined because that would look weird, but just kind of to warm the area up. Alright, I'm going to take the RCMA setting powder. Again, super cheap. I think it's like $12. You can buy it online and you get a ton of it. I probably have like a quarter of a bottle left, but I've also spilled probably a quarter of the bottle on my floor. So, and I've had it a while, so it does last a long time. And then I'm just going to kind of carve out that area where I colored in my nose down both sides of my cheek. Again, this is going to be key in making sure you don't get oily throughout the day. Just that powder seeping into your skin is going to help. And then I'm going to just clean up this area over here. So any areas that like the bronzer fell down lower than my cheekbone, I can just fix that up real quick. And then I just apply a little extra on my chin. This is where I tend to get oily throughout the day, and my forehead. And then I'm going to sit and look like a lifeguard off SpongeBob while I fill in my eyebrows quick, just to let that powder really just bake into my skin. Now with filling in my eyebrows, since this is a no makeup look, I am going to keep it pretty natural. I'm not going to bring my pencil forward too much. I just kind of want to fill in like the sparse spots. Okay, so now that those are just kind of filled in, that's my cat. He wanted to watch me get ready. I'm going to set my brows with this Essence Lash and Brow Gel Mascara. This is $2.99 at Ulta, so I know it's quite the investment, but I do think it's worth it just to kind of have something to run through your brows at the end of doing them so they look nice and stay nice throughout the day. You don't have to spend $30 or whatever the Anastasia setting brow gel costs. It's just not necessary. And I like that this bottle's clear, so you can see when you're running out. Like with the Anastasia one, you can never tell because the bottle's silver, so you're like, okay, do I need a new one? Do I not? I have no idea. So with this, you can tell. I actually bought two because I was like, well, they're $2.99, so I think I can afford it right now. So we're actually getting down to the end of it. To brush off the excess powder on my face, I like to use a foundation brush. So I'm just going to use this foundation brush because I think that it kind of helps not only get the excess powder off, but it's going to kind of help it that it's like sitting in your skin a little bit more. Like you can still see that it's there, and you can kind of like buff it out at the same time rather than using like a big fluffy brush. It's really hard to like blend with those, so I like this, but you can use whatever you want. Okay, so next part I'm going to do is blush. I'm going to use this Tarteist Pro Glow palette. It has 2 shades of blush up top here. I like to mix them together. I would say blush is relatively important for this particular look because when someone looks at your skin, they know that naturally it is not all one color. Like everyone has a little bit of redness in their cheeks or whatever it is. Like I don't use blush every single day, but with something like this, I would say it's pretty important. Don't make yourself look like a clown, but just at like right above where you did that bronze, just like circular light motions. And then maybe a little extra right at like the apples of your cheeks. Alright, so I'm going to curl my eyelashes quick. I'm not going to put on mascara per se, just one moment. I'll show you what I'm going to do. So I'm just curling both eyelashes on both eyes, I guess is how you'd say that. And then that same brow and gel mascara that I used on my eyebrows, I'm going to put on my eyelashes. This is clear, so it's going to not make your eyebrows or eyelashes dark in any way, but it's going to help them stay in that curled position that you put them in and still look natural because it's not lengthening them, it's not darkening them, it's not looking like thick, chunky mascara that we put on every day. So yeah, that is about the finished look, you guys. I basically skipped contouring, concealer, filling in my brows like excessively, mascara, and highlight, and that is how you are going to make people think that you just naturally look good without makeup on, even though I spent 20 minutes doing this. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys learned something and enjoyed this. Let me know if you did, and I will continue to do things like this. Thanks, guys.